Chrysler. Strike up the band, sound the trumpets, slide those trombones, blow you big bass horns, beat those drums. Chrysler dealers and salesmen, this is it. Here comes the parade, your parade. For years, you've had the best engineered car in America. Now, for 1953, you'll have the most beautiful Chrysler ever designed, creating a stunning new mood in highway fashion. The whole world will soon be saying, wow, all this, and beauty, too. But before we get into our preview of the beauty parade, let's have a 1-minute review. Here's a situation I think a lot of you will recognize. It's Bill Sellers, Chrysler salesman, just back from a demonstration to Mr. and Mrs. Fred Jones.
Well, Mr. Jones, how did it handle?
Well, that's the best doggone ride I ever had. Didn't you like it, dear?
It was very nice.
Notice that pickup when you needed it and that soft ride over the rough spot?
I sure did. Without cramping it, boy, you've got something.
Fred's crazy about this car. I can see that. I like it, but it isn't quite the style I'd like.
And see that power steering, it does all the work for you.
I'll say. Well, dear, don't you think we might as well take it?
Let's talk it over. You can phone him.
Oh. All right. I'll call you later. Yeah.
Your new Chrysler will be ready for you this afternoon. And I'm sure that you and your family are going to love it. Goodbye, Mr. Willett. Midtown Motors, Bill Sellers. Oh, hello, Mr. Jones. How soon can I bring it over? Oh, I see. But, Mr. Jones... Oh, your wife said. Sure. Later, maybe, huh? Well, thanks for calling.
Tough luck.
You're telling me?
Oh, well, you're still selling your share, aren't you?
Oh, I do all right. But when someone comes along and all they want is style...
You don't mean they do without performance and comfort, just for style.
Oh, no? Did you ever see a fat woman fight her way into a tight girdle?
I see what you mean.
Well, some people put up with cramping themselves into a car like that and sit with their knees up under their chins if they think the outside looks sufficiently unusual or stylish.
Well, for all who will do that, think how they'll go for the last word in real beauty, style, and distinction, when now you can offer it to them in the most comfortable, greatest performing, finest engineered car in America.
You mean the new Chrysler? That's what I'm waiting to see.
That's what the whole world is waiting to see. One moment, please. Permit me to introduce myself. I'm Dick Lane. I'm the guy who's just been talking with that salesman. And now I want to talk to all you dealers and salesmen. And best of all, I want to show you the new queen of the beauty parade, the most beautiful Chrysler ever designed. All right, boys, open the curtain. Basic beauty comes from beauty of line. That's why I want your first glimpse of the 1953 Chrysler to be of its lines of beauty, grace, and flow. As seen in its breathtaking silhouette, the Chrysler New Yorker. Beauty with good taste. Beauty that is distinctive. For the sake of comparison, we'll superimpose a silhouette of the 1952 New Yorker over the new one. You can see where the new Chrysler is lower overall, more gracefully proportioned, like a bird in flight. To give you a further idea of the change in the shape of the doors, here's how they look in the 1952 car. And here is how they look in the new Chrysler. Notice the new door in the rear for greater vision. You're going to see more of the car in a minute. But even in outline, you can see this is no facelifting job. In everything that has to do with appearance, the 1953 Chrysler is a new car. For several years we've gone along without any major changes. But this year we started fresh. And remember, this is the work of 3,000 Chrysler engineers, recognized as the leading engineering group in the industry, working toward a double goal: to give you distinctive beauty in the best of taste, and yet not sacrifice any of the mechanical superiorities, the famous Chrysler ride, comfort, and performance you already have. And now for some of the new features you wanted to see, and I can hardly wait to tell you about. It's an 1.5 inch lower car, without sacrificing headroom or knee-height seats. The silhouette helps show you how the new one-piece curved windshield becomes a part of the sweeping flow line. In detail, it's like this. Not only the curve, but the angle in relation to the driver's eyes is scientifically designed and installed to minimize distortion. Yes, you see, you were seeing the view through the new curved one-piece windshield. And as we roll along, notice how that sweeping glass and the narrow A-posts at each side give you the feeling that you're riding practically out of doors. Not only can you see where you're going, but where you've been. The new wraparound clear-back window, whether looked out of direct or through the rear view mirror, gives you an equally unobstructed view to the rear. The new rear door. Chryslers have been noted for the ease with which you can get in and out. No shoehorns needed. But here is an instance where redesigning for beauty actually increases comfort. Notice the new door handles, streamlined. But the interesting part, you don't push this way, you don't twist down when you really want it to come toward you. You simply take hold of it, pull back your natural motion, and the door opens. The new rear fenders are 25% longer and blend into the uninterrupted line of the body from the front grille to the rear bumper. In the four-door sedans, they form part of the rear door. The new rear deck is wider, viewed from either the side or rear. Almost full car width. The trunk has a new lock. No handle for thieves to get a piece of pipe on and twist open. The bottom tip of the V forms a recessed lift. And look at that new and larger baggage compartment. From outside to outside. The equivalent of 6 extra bushels of room. Note the new outboard hinges at the sides where they won't press into the baggage. While we're round back here, let's note the new taillight design. See how it becomes part of the fender. Not swelled up and sticking out like a sore thumb, but like a beautiful jewel in a perfect setting. Last year's popular feature has been retained. The automatic backup lights as an extra part of the tail lights. This year, we have a new location for the gas filler cap. It no longer mars the fender design or streaks it with overflow gas. And it is several feet nearer the hose when you're forced to drive up to the left side of a pump. And what about chrome? We use it generously, where it belongs. The massive grille gives the front end the appearance of ruggedness and irresistible power. The single gleaming speed line back along the body, with the stone shield contoured to the rear fender, heightens the illusion of swift flight. It even looks like a streak of lightning. All in all, the amount of chrome we put on the new Chrysler is the amount recommended by fashion experts for good taste. Now, before we get into the interiors, I want to give you an idea of the richness of the material, the new beauty and variety of the combinations. And to tell us about them, here is Miss Jerry Cameron, Hollywood stylist. Miss Cameron.
Thank you, Dick. Hello there. It's a pleasure to talk about the new beauty and style sensation in automobiles, the new Chrysler. You can see here a world of fashion in fabric variety and color range that go into these new cars. Sophisticated broadcloths in harmonizing double tones and lustrous single tones. Exciting plaids and gleaming leathers. Now let's see how some of these combine to make really stunning interiors. This is the New Yorker four-door. Here is one of the many enchanting combinations available. 2 tones of green. One is light and fresh as a spring garden. The other dark as the deepest recesses of a forest glen. The New Yorker Club Coupe. Again, for many combinations, we find this radiant meeting of blue, dark as the ocean's depths, and gray, sparkling as seagulls in the sun, in finest broadcloth, wearing its accessories like jewels. The Newport, in the new cinnamon brown leather and beige plaid, dazzling leather trim to gorgeous lattice-tailored fabric. Just a hint of many combinations that are new in the Newport. The new dash panel safety cushion and glare-proof top cover are carried out in the same pattern, rounding out the new fashion appeal that will surely become the new selling appeal. Eh, Richard?
Yes, indeed. And I want to interrupt here long enough to remind you that all these features are new features. Largely beauty and style features, in addition to all the great mechanical and comfort features you already have in the features that are still superior to anything competition has or is bringing out. You've got new beauty. Yes, breathtaking beauty, distinctive beauty, and style, and good taste. And you still have that Chrysler engineering the other fellas just can't touch. To name only four, no one else has the Chrysler firepower engine. It is still the greatest automobile engine in America. It develops the greatest power over the longest lifespan with the greatest economy. The secret lies in the hemispherical combustion chamber, the type used in aircraft and racing cars that Chrysler engineers perfected along with the lateral valve action. It is not unusual for some of the highly touted competitive engines to lose as much as 20 to 30 horsepower after only the first 6,000 or 7,000 miles due to carbon formation. Because the firepower engine is self-cleaning, it delivers all the power it is supposed to deliver at any and all speeds. 35 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, or if the needle's on the peg. And it does it even on non-premium fuel. What an engine. Second, you have the Oriflow shock absorbers with the sea leg mounting that soak up gobs of jolts and jars. Competitive shocks, even in the most expensive cars, in order to permit free play of the springs on the boulevards, fail to compensate for the places where the ripples become real bumps. As the bumps increase, the wheels even leave the road. In a Chrysler, you have free spring action on the boulevards, but as the going gets rougher, the restraining action gets tougher. It's the Oriflow shocks that are taxed. The driver is relaxed. The other way, it's not only uncomfortable, but physiologists tell us that the human body can only comfortably absorb a certain number of oscillations per minute. More than that result in fatigue, eye strain, backache, and so forth. The Chrysler Oriflow ride causes the human body to oscillate about as much as sitting at home in a rocking chair. Thirdly, you have Chrysler Power Brakes. The trend to faster cars has greatly multiplied the braking effort required to stop a car safely. Yet the only stopping power other cars have is a pressure the driver can apply with his foot. Whereas with Chrysler Power Brakes, you have power assistance that not only assures maximum braking power with a minimum of foot pressure, but has a generous reserve of stoppability when the situation demands it. And number four, you have Chrysler Power Steering. Now, don't let anyone confuse this with the part-time power steering put out by competition, where the driver has to give the wheel a 3 to 7 pounds of pull first before the hydraulic assistant deigns to take notice. Not this off again, on again, now you have it, now you don't sort of a thing. But with Chrysler, who gave the world power steering in the first place, you have 450 pounds of hydraulic pressure holding your front wheel steady in sand or rough spots or in case of a blowout. Your power assistance is constant, instant, and always the same. That is why you retain the true feel of the steering wheel, because you always know what to expect. Now, let's see how it works in real life. Of course, we don't recommend steering with one finger, but this young lady shows you it can be done. The wheel turns that easily, but still in perfect control. I have by no means finished with the list of the new features in the new Chrysler, and I don't think I will. You'll soon be seeing them for yourselves. Things like the new wheel cover, the new parking light and directional signal, new contour windshield wipers, the new gear shift indicator design, and so forth. Instead, for my last couple of minutes, I just want to talk to you like a Dutch uncle. I want we should stop a minute and take stock. Just how we stack up against competition. Now, I'm going to call a spade, and a Buick. And that goes for Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Mercury, and Lincoln. And most of all, Cadillac. Why most of all? Well, in the first place, we all know Cadillac is a great automobile. When you've got something on Cadillac, you've got it on the rest of your competition double. And gentlemen, you've got several things on Cadillac. Let's take a look at our animation screen. Let's go back a few years. Remember when cars looked like that? Then someone decided they should shorten the wheelbase, push down the top, and pull out the ends. Well, maybe we'd better admit, on the outside it is a prettier car. But the old copybooks used to say, handsome is as handsome does. And if you want to use a car, you have to get in it. Of course, now the seats were too high, so they lowered them. As anyone knows, the lower the seat, the more leg room you need in front of it. But about that time, they wanted a long, flat trunk. With the result that since then, a lot of people have been sitting on the end of their spines, just so they could have a nice trunk. And who rides in a trunk? The baggage. And who cares whether the baggage is comfortable or not? Next, they wanted a still more slanting windshield and rear window. That moved the windshield in, right in front of the driver's nose, and put the sun in his lap. I want you to contrast this sketch with the silhouette of the new Chrysler. I want you to see we've found a way to give our passengers low lines, beautiful lines, but still with chair-height seats and oceans of legroom and headroom besides. Let me ask you, have you ridden in a Cadillac lately? Well, I wish every one of you would go out and borrow one. Get a good one, their premium car, the Fleetwood. Sit behind the wheel with your knees drawn up. Try to lean back and stretch out and see over the steering wheel at the same time. Notice how the closeness of the windshield and the way it's slanted lets the sun's rays beat down on your legs and reflect off the shiny cowl into your eyes. Blink your eyes against the glare and the distortion of the glass. Feel that warm air drawn in over the engine, especially in the summertime, in contrast to the cool, fresh air drawn into your Chrysler through the cowl ventilator. You think I'm exaggerating? I didn't believe it myself until just before we were shooting this picture. I went out and took a ride in both cars. And I can tell you from my own experience the remarkable difference in the Chrysler Oriflow ride. The thrilling feel of that firepower engine, the superiority of the power brakes, and the full-time power steering. And get this, the Chrysler I've been talking about, the one that has all these things over competition, is the 1953 New Yorker. I haven't even mentioned the new Imperial. When you really want to out-Cadillac, gentlemen, this is it. The new Imperial by Chrysler. Isn't that the most beautiful car you ever laid your eyes on? There is the finest car that money can buy. The kind of car you expect to encounter in Westchester, in Lake Forest, in Beverly Hills. You'll never mistake it for any other car. From the massive front grille and longer hood, adorned by new radiator ornaments, the diving Chrysler Eagle and plumed V, to the rear deck, designed in the same smart style and distinction. Guarded by its heavy-duty double-bar bumper. And will you look at that new, still more commodious trunk? carpeted throughout. The whole underbody undercoated, inside as well as outside, for complete insulation against sound, dirt, and corrosion. Open the door to a new world of elegance and luxury. And again, I'm going to call on our fashion stylist to present it to you, Jerry Cameron.
Here, indeed, is the last word in highway fashion. An interior that reflects discriminating taste, subtle flattery to anyone invited to enter it. Here is luxury, deep, yielding cushions at divan height, with every comfort appointment, plus seclusion, when desired, in a town limousine, by means of the movable glass partition between the passenger and chauffeur's compartment. Overall, it has the continental look. It is the last word in beauty in motion, the crowning achievement in America's first family of fine cars.
Thank you again, Jerry Cameron. Men, honestly, I envy you. The first time you ride down the street in any of the 1953 Chryslers, just watch what happens. See them look. Watch those double takes. How they stare in admiration. They're seeing what Jerry Cameron calls beauty in motion. Well, let's us see some of these new members of the Chrysler family in motion, too. From the 53 New Yorkers, the Club Coupe. The classy New Yorker Newport. This one is in the striking new cinnamon shade. The New Yorker four-door. In all models, a wide range of colors to choose from. The new six-passenger Imperial by Chrysler. The incomparable Imperial limousine. Perfection with practicability for the sophisticate. Here are some of these 1953 Chrysler beauties on parade. When you drive up someplace where your type of prospects are gathered and you park the new Chrysler, notice what happens then. See them swarm around it. Uh-oh, here are the Joneses again. The prospects the dealer was trying to sell at the beginning of the picture.
Oh, look, Fred. There's the kind of car I want. Come on.
Yes, sir. That's the kind the Joneses have been waiting for. The kind you dealers have been waiting for. You know what I've been thinking? how proud Walter P. Chrysler would be of this 1953 line of cars that bear the name of Chrysler. This is what you've been asking for. Never has your line of cars been better. Never has your opportunity been greater. Let's go get 'em. In the next few months, there are going to be some changes made in your neck of the woods. There are going to be some cars disappear from the scene, and some new cars take their places. That's what will soon be happening. The word is already getting around. Things are starting to roll in the automotive world, and the things that are rolling are Chryslers. Wonderful? Yes, we've seen the radiant, the beautiful new Chrysler in the movies. Now, let's see it in person. Here it is.
Mr. DiPaolo. Must have been a year since you've been to see us.
Yes, it has been, Jessie, and you haven't changed a bit.
That's what you said last year and the year before, but I always like to hear it. Are you going to write another article about Plymouth, Mr. DiPaolo?
Yep, that's why I'm here. I'm going to drive one of the new cars today.
Excuse me, I have a call.
Mr. Peter DiPaolo to see Mr. Hadley. Oh, all right, I'll tell him. Thank you. Mr. Hadley has been detained, Mr. DePaulo, but one of his assistants will see you, Mr. Barkley.
That's okay. I'll go on up.
Thank you.
Mr. Hadley's secretary tells me that his plane was grounded in Toledo, so his arrival is indefinite. But the new car will be ready shortly, Mr. DePaulo.
That's okay. I'll just walk around.
Are you interested in engines, Mr. DePaulo?
Well, yes, I suppose I am.
Well, then, you sit over here, and I'll tell you all about it.
Well, all right, Mr. Barkley, you're very kind.
Oh, not at all, not at all. I'm glad to do it. An engineer doesn't often have a chance to talk to a layman like this. Now, there's one point that I want to make very clear, just in case you aren't aware of it. Chrysler Corporation engines, from the very beginning, from way back in 1924, have always been recognized for their extremely high efficiency. And when I say recognized, I don't mean just by our engineers. I mean by engineers of other companies and the general public. Now, I don't want to give you much history, Mr. DePaulo, but I would like to point out just a few of the Chrysler Corporation developments. Things that you take for granted today, but they help to explain why Chrysler Corporation engines have always been ahead. For instance, Plymouth was the first car with floating power engine mountings. And that means quieter operation, longer life. We also developed the high compression economy engine. And today, the Plymouth engine has a compression ratio of 7-to-1 with 97 horsepower. Our engineers developed aluminum pistons, too. Plymouth uses 4 rings, and the top one is chrome plated for much longer life. Our cars were the first to have oil filters, and today, it's a micronic oil filter that keeps small, gritty particles from getting to the bearings and other engine parts. We were the first to have air cleaners, too, and it has a continual oil bath that guarantees clean air entering the engine. We've got a 45-ampere generator, and with that and the automatic choke, you can always be sure of easy starting and efficient engine operation during warm-up. This year, we've got a 6-blade fan. Cuts down fan noise and increases the rate of cooling. Then take the chain camshaft drive, which is a mechanical feature of great merit, lending itself to silence of operation. That's what I mean, Mr. DePaulo. Chrysler engineering has always been sound. We started out in the right basis, and through the years there's been continuous improvement. Nobody has ever questioned the superiority of Chrysler-designed engines. This is our president, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. DePaulo.
Yes, we've met, Barkley. Hello, Pete. Just heard you were here to see Hadley. Sit down a moment.
Yes, Jack. I was at the press showing of the 1953 models, and Newt Hadley said he let me drive one of the new cars this afternoon.
So I heard, and that's the most convincing way to find out what we've really got this year.
Well, that's what I decided after listening to all the claims they made yesterday. You seem to have exploded an old theory, and I'd like to find out.
You'll have your chance, Pete. The car will be ready any minute now. They're installing a transcribing machine so you can dictate notes as you drive. And also an impactograph, which will make a record of the smooth ride, even on the roughest roads.
Say, you must really believe what you've got this year.
You will too, Pete. But what do you think of what you've seen so far?
Well, as Mr. Barkley here says, you've always had an outstanding engine. And now you've got a body that I think will be regarded as the most beautiful on the road. If on top of all that, your ride is all you say it is, well, I'd like to find out.
Well, we can't ask for anything more than that, Pete.
Excuse me, Mr. Mansfield.
Yes?
Mr. DePaulo's car's ready now.
Thank you. Well, Pete, it's been awfully nice seeing you.
Thanks, Jack.
Let me know what you think of that new car now.
You bet I will.
If you don't mind, Mr. DePaulo, I'd like to ask a favor.
Why, sure.
My little nephew is just crazy about race drivers, and I wonder if you'd give me your autograph for him.
I'd be very happy to. Have you something to write on?
I certainly have. He gave me this picture of you. He collects them.
Oh, fine. I haven't seen that one for a long time.
Thank you very much, Mr. DePaulo.
It's all right.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. DiPaolo. I had no idea.
Oh, but you do know, Mr. Barkley, and you've done a darn good job. Thanks for all the time you spent.
Pete, you old rascal, you. I haven't seen you since... When was it we got together last in Indianapolis?
Gosh, Ben, I think it was the year that George Robeson won. That was, 1946.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Pete.
And I see you're a still feature writer for the, news service. Saw your byline this morning.
Sure. What else could I do after all these years? Jack Mansfield said I'd find you out here today. So that's it. That's the new Plymouth.
Yes, sir, that's it.
Well, I see what they mean now. They're still using the same name, but any other resemblance is purely coincidental.
Remember me, Mr. DiPaolo?
Well, I should.
6 years ago, Indianapolis.
Gosh, I just can't seem to...
I told you I'd never forget you, and you said the same to me. I still have the autographed picture you gave me. You were the first big-time race driver I'd ever met, and you told me to call you Pete. Dad wouldn't let me call you that then, but I think I'm old enough to call you Pete now.
I get it. You're Ben's little daughter. At least you were 6 years ago. You've changed, and I approve of it.
Just for that, you may call me Phyllis.
Hey, Eddie. Yeah, Ben? Get your camera. Let's make those shots of this new job.
Okay. I don't know about that, Ben.
Oh, that's all right, Pete. That's why Mr. Mansfield sent me out here. We're doing a feature story for release in a couple of weeks when the new car's announced. You know, Pete, this is all they needed.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Chrysler cars have always been tops in the engine department. But this job has really got looks. Now, what else do they need?
Well, they claim they have something unusual in the ride, too. Which reminds me, that's why I brought the car out here.
Oh, that's all right, Pete. This won't take long. Hurry up, Eddie, hurry up.
Dad, you should see the interior of this car. It's beautiful. I love this upholstery. It's such a beautiful color. It harmonizes with the body color.
Yes, that's something new this year. They've given a lot of thought to color harmony.
And the front door panels. The upper sections blend with the upholstery. And the color of the lower sections is a very smart contrast. This is a nice touch, too. Everything about this car has a feeling of good taste. I'm still having trouble believing what I see.
There's another thing about these door panels, Phyllis. They'll stay beautiful because they're made of vinyl plastic. Easy to keep clean, hard to scuff, and weatherproof. The armrests are trimmed in vinyl plastic, too. And you'll notice how they match the lower door trim panel.
Oh, and something else. The rear seat cushion is divided into 3 sections, just like in the most expensive cars. Well, the front seat cushion has 3 pillows, too. They just haven't overlooked anything, have they?
Does she always carry on this way about a new car, Ben?
The kid thinks she knows a lot about automobiles, all right. She usually wants to redesign every one she looks at.
I'm not listening. But tell me, Pete, is it possible that this rear seat's a lot wider than in Dad's car? Or have I just lost weight?
It's wider, all right. More than 2 inches.
Really?
Sure, and wider front seats with almost 3 inches more legroom.
The car doesn't look that much bigger.
It isn't, Ben. They just cut out a lot of waste space, that's all.
I'll be darned.
Look, Dad, this is kind of nice, too. The glove compartment's in the middle, where anybody in the front seat can get at it.
That's all right.
You know what? You can see just as well from this rear seat as you can from the front. You don't have that feeling of being all closed in.
They're calling that control tower visibility. The new design provides more than 15% additional glass area. But I'm afraid you overlooked another important change, Phyllis.
Well, don't let Dad know. He'll never forget.
We'll keep it quiet then. Let's take the rear seats out of both cars, and I'll show you something. But here's the story. The 1952 rear seat tapers off towards the back.
Uh-huh.
This means, of course, that the springs are pretty thin in the back of the cushion. But the 1953 rear cushion here, full springs all the way back. It's a full depth cushion, as comfortable at the back as it is in the middle and the front.
How in the world do they manage that, Pete?
It's the new frame design, Ben. It runs flat much further back. It used to rise gradually towards the rear, so that the back seat had to taper. But now, in the 53s, they have a sharp kick-up just ahead of the rear axle, so that gives more space for full-depth springs for the back seats.
Okay, Ben. You ready, Eddie?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I want. I want comparative shots of both cars. Now, first, take a shot of the 1952 grill. Then take another shot at the same angle of the 1953 grill. So on, all around both cars. That'll really show how much the appearance of this car has been improved. Okay? Yeah, that ought to do it, Eddie. Let's make it. Okay, that's the 52 grill. Now let's get the same angle on the 53 grill. I better make some notes. Strong, simple lines. Uncluttered. Center grill bar adds to appearance of car's width. Lines of center bar continued into the fenders. Enamel the same color as the body. So is the lower grill bar. All right, now let's go a little higher on the 52 job. Yeah, that'll do for the 52. Get the same shot of the 53 car, Eddie. Uh-huh. Lines more gently rounded. Hood slopes smoothly into fenders. That adds to the appearance of more width, too. So does the one-piece hood, because there's no center line to break it up. Just the new hood ornament that goes back about a third of the distance to the windshield. Now move up to the windshield of my car, Eddie. Yeah, that'll catch it. That's what I want, Eddie. Now the same thing for 53. Uh-huh. That's what I thought. This one-piece curved windshield gives you a feeling of more width, too.
This isn't just an ordinary curved windshield, Ben. It has a more uniform curvature, which practically eliminates all distortion. And you can get it in the Solex glass, too, to cut down on the heat and the glare. And here's something else. Plymouth was the first to have an electric windshield wiper. As far as I know, it's still the only one. And I'm glad to see they've retained the cowl ventilator.
Good. I'll make a note of that. Let's get to work on the sides, Eddie. All right. That's the way she looked in 52. Now for the 53. It's getting clearer now. Here's some reasons why the 53 looks so much longer and lower. The front fender top line runs all the way back. Makes the car look longer. And so does that horizontal accent line. Because it just continues on where the center grill bar lets off. It looks lower because the belt line's been dropped. How much would you say, Pete?
The book says 3.5 inches.
Ah, thanks. Now let's move on back. Yep, that'll take care of 52. Now for 53. As I said before, the top fender line runs all the way through from front to back. Helps to make the car look longer. And so does that character line that's stamped in the sheet metal. Let's look at trunks now, Eddie.
Okay.
As you say, Eddie, that's okay. Let's get 53 the same way. Yep, more reason for the lower, wider appearance. The deck lid is much wider. It slopes so gradually into the fenders that you get the impression of even greater width. And with the appearance of a lot more width, you get the feeling of the car being lower, too. And yeah, the gas cap's been moved from the fender to the back. Easy to fuel the car from either side.
Better take a look inside the trunk, too, Ben.
Yeah. Take a shot of my trunk, Eddie.
Okay.
All right, now let's see how it compares with the 53 trunk.
See what they've done, Ben? The counterbalance hinges are on the extreme outside edges. They don't interfere with the storage space. No chance to scuff your luggage. That gives you more usable space. And then the floor being lower adds even more space.
Yeah? Yeah? How much?
30%, the book says. That's an increased cubical content of more than 6 bushels. And the spare tires slanted outward to give the deck lid a low profile.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, move in on my car, Eddie, and get the rear window. Uh-huh. That'll give us an idea of the 52 job. So let's get the new one. Yep, just as I thought. That new, wider rear window does help to make the whole car look wider. And lower, too. One-piece curved glass. Wrap around at each end. Now let's get comparative shots of the complete car. It sure looks lower and wider and longer, but is it, Pete?
Deceptive, isn't it?
Well,
It has more headroom in the front, and the same as 52 in the rear. The front seat is as wide as last year's, but the rear seat is even wider. They retained the chair height seats, but added more legroom to the front.
all right, but how about the overall dimension?
It says here it's 3/4 of an inch lower, 1/2 inch narrower, and 4 3/4 of an inch less overhang.
Well, how can that be? It looks bigger, but it isn't. That doesn't make sense, Pete.
It's all in the new design, Ben. They've cut out all the waste space to make more room for the passengers and the luggage. You get it?
The new slope of the hood makes for better visibility for the driver, too. Easier handling.
That's right. And without the fender bulge, to make the rear seat wider. Get it now, Ben?
Well, I get everything except one. With this shorter wheelbase, how can I get a smoother ride? We've always been told that it's...
That's what I'd like to know, too, Ben. But they say it's a matter of the entirely new type of suspension.
Well, they gotta prove it to me.
Me, too. What do you say, Ben? You put this impactograph in your 52 job and follow me over the same road. Then we'll compare the records and see what's what.
Impactograph. What does it do?
It records every car jolt on that tape. With one in your car and one in mine, then we can see how they stack up against each other.
It's a deal.
It's a deal, all right, if I can ride with Pete.
Then it is a deal. And now that I've got a feel of the car, Phyllis, let's really give it a road test. We're now coming into a rather rough road. I'll take it at first at 35, and then hit it up to between 60 and 70. Very comfortable in here. But let's see what the impactograph says. Doesn't say much of anything, just a very small wiggle in the line. This must be due in part to the new, softer rear springs. They're wider this year, and they're only 5 leaves instead of 7. This takes up more of the road shock than the springs themselves, with less friction because there are fewer leaves. Wonder how Ben's getting along.
Okay, Ben. This is a test, Eddie. We gotta keep up with Pete.
Now we're going into a pretty good curve on a sandy road. I'll take it at about 55. The rear wheels are hugging the road very well. I have a feeling of complete control. This car is very steady on the curves, a high degree of stability. This is what Hadley, the chief engineer, told me yesterday. It's because of the new non-parallel control arm arrangement for the front suspension. It resists the outward tilt. That's normal on turns. Normal because of centrifugal action. Some of this stability comes from the new rear springs, too. They allow less twist because they're splayed. That is, they're closer together at the forward end.
Look, boys, one finger.
We're going to try much the same thing now, only tougher, in a continuous circle on deep sand. Yep, this 53 job hugs the road a lot better, even in sand. It has a shorter turning radius, too. Now, let's check on something else. They told us at the press showing that with their new frame and new body design, they've got an entirely different weight distribution. And the ride we've had so far indicates they've got something all right. Now on this rough stretch, let's check it for pitch.
If I know what pitch is, no pitch.
If there was, I didn't feel it. What does impactograph say?
He says so, too. What do you think?
Beginning to think they've got something.
Well, nobody asks me, but I'm sure they've got something. Now what?
Let's see if we can find a washboard road.
A what?
You'll see. See what I mean?
I see it, but I hardly feel it. And it barely shows on the impactograph.
I'm not surprised at that, not anymore. But watch what happens when I step on the gas on this kind of a road. Do you notice any chatter?
Only what's coming from you.
I'm talking about rear wheel hop. Do you notice any at all?
Uh-uh. Neither did the impactograph.
Let's see what happens to Ben's car. Yep, there is a difference this year. Rear wheel hop when accelerating on washboard roads has been greatly reduced by mounting the axle housing forward on the spring. Distance between forward end of spring and rear axle is shortened. All right, Phyllis, let's try one more thing. We are now getting a pretty smooth ride over a very rough road. There aren't many cars I'd try this with, particularly at this speed. But this test does indicate a lot less road shock and much less driver fatigue under any conditions. This is due to the additional jounce space provided for all wheels. Greater spring travel is possible before the limit bumpers engage. There's much more freedom from bottoming, and even when it does bottom, there's no kick. Ha! Your pappy's taking it easy, and I don't blame him. And now, if you'll hand me that impactograph, Phyllis, we'll take the tape out and make some comparisons. This is our story, Ben, in black and white wiggle. Here's where you hit that first rough road, and here's where I went into it. Here's that sandy curve. We took it steady, but your rear wheels must have done some sliding. Shows up the same way on those turns we made in the sand. And here's what happened when we gunned it on the washboard road. I'm satisfied, Ben. Are you?
No. I've got to buy a new Plymouth.
I'm not satisfied either. And I won't be until you let me drive this car.
Well, I used to ride with Ralph De Palma, so...
All right. Let's give her the works.
We shall have music wherever we go.
satisfied now?
Almost, Pete, but not quite.
Maybe I should go through that same trip standing on my head.
Nothing like that. You know, you're the first big-time race driver I ever met, and the first I've ever driven with. So you're my big star.
Maybe. I hope it stays that way.
It will, under one condition.
Uh-oh.
All I want is for you to pose with me and the new star.
So, I have a rival now.
Don't you worry. I mean the new 1953 Plymouth. Will you, Pete?
What do you think?
Quick, Eddie, the camera.
New stars on the horizon. America's first truly balanced motor car in the low-price field. 9 exciting body styles. Plymouth, builder of great cars for 2 generations. Always the value leader, always years ahead in engineering developments, has done it again. The 1952 Plymouth, which was designed for more driving comfort, convenience, and safety, with truly beautiful functional lines, has this year created a car that looks even longer, lower, lovelier, without sacrificing any of Plymouth's superb comfort and safety qualities. The head-on view, which in 1952 looked massive, solid, safe, this year has been lowered to a sleek, smooth, streamlined appearance. The rear of the car, which has always conveyed the look of sturdiness and stability, now provides an impression of wider, lower styling in the modern manner without losing this feeling. Yes, this year, Plymouth has produced a truly magnificent car that provides outstanding performance and design that is years ahead. From the very backbone of the car, the frame, Plymouth engineers have carefully designed, tested, and created an entirely new automobile. This new frame design permits lower overall car height and greater use of passenger compartment space. And this new frame helps the car resist the twisting forces of road shock. Plymouth's new chassis is one of the many reasons why this great new car is better handling, easier riding. And a more comfortable, softer ride is achieved through the use of splayed springs. The forward end of the springs, mounted closer together, lends additional resistance to strain and twist. Yes, the new Plymouth car not only adds to its established greatness, but it provides a new concept of automobile quality and value. And in 1953, Plymouth includes a model for every taste in 2 magnificent lines. The Cambridge, setting the pace for value with a full measure of quality at a moderate price. And the Cranbrook, a premium quality car with luxury never before found in the low price field. Yes, these are the 2 lines, the Cambridge and the Cranbrook, that will provide the motoring public with more pleasure, more dependability, and more satisfaction. And now for a full dress parade of Plymouth beauties, a complete line of models for everyone, a car to fit every taste, every desire, every budget. Yes, Plymouth blankets the field with the greatest cars ever built. The Cambridge 4-door sedan. It meets every requirement of a true family car. It is beautiful, long, sleek, and its low lines give it a sophisticated appeal that is unusual in the low-price field. Cambridge Club Sedan, desired by many parents of small children for the added safety of a rear compartment without doors. This model has exactly as much passenger room as a 4-door sedan. It is distinctive from, and should not be confused with, a Club Coupe. And in all two-door models, Plymouth is this year introducing a new great convenience feature, the Easy Exit Seat, providing greater rear seat accessibility. The front seat, rather than being split down the center, is divided on a 1/3, 2/3 basis. This means the passenger sitting beside the driver merely has to move over slightly, and rear seat passengers can get in and out of the car easily, without disturbing or cramping the front seat passengers in the slightest. And this great new idea has been incorporated into all Plymouth two-door models this year. Furthermore, this wonderful new car seat design lends added safety, more peace of mind to parents of small children, because at sudden stops, the old type split seat used to swing forward, creating an ever-present sense of danger for parents. But Plymouth's new seat design means a more wonderful sense of security, because there is no danger of the seat pitching forward unexpectedly. And two, 3 adult passengers can ride on this new seat without one passenger having to straddle an awkward, uncomfortable break in the seat. The Cambridge Business Coupe combines smart-looking transportation with practical utility. It provides the businessman with more comfort and greater convenience. And when it is not being used for business, it becomes a smooth-riding, smart-looking club coupe with the optional rear seat unit. Versatility is the word for this car. The rear seat flips out easily, quickly, to provide more cargo space for the busy salesman. Yes, this greater luggage area will appeal to businessmen everywhere. All the trunk space can be utilized for luggage, cargo space, sample cases, because the spare tire is easily removed and fastened in the rear compartment. This is the type of usefulness that every businessman can well appreciate. Everybody's favorite, the Cambridge Suburban, cargo carrier, sports car, and general utility wagon. Here, indeed, is the distinguishing mark of successful suburban living. The Cranbrook four-door sedan, graceful, modern living on its most sophisticated level. Truly a car that appeals to the owner's pride, that displays automobile craftsmanship at its very finest. The Cranbrook Club Coupe, smart, attractive, good-looking. It provides a maximum of roominess and a compact appearance. The Cranbrook Savoy, ready for play, ready for work. Here is one of the most versatile cars on the road, America's sweetheart of the highway. It is as rugged as it is graceful, as smart as it is dependable. It's a suburban show-off and a city slicker combined in one. The Cranbrook Belvedere, sleek, streamlined, poised. The car that combines the freedom of a schoolboy who's gone fishing with the conservative sedan solidness of an executive. The Cranbrook Convertible, the most beautiful car on the road. For the fun-loving, sun-loving people who want the wide-open feeling of youthful exhilaration and the assurance of premium performance. This is a true American beauty. Yes, this is the Plymouth Star Parade. 2 complete lines. From the Cambridge Business Coupe to the Cranbrook Convertible, Plymouth provides the most exciting automobile news of this year or any year. Plymouth's great range of magnificent automobiles provides the right car to suit the most discriminating buyer, to meet the needs of everyone. Yes, Plymouth, the star of the year, because it's the car of the year. Made by Plymouth, and Plymouth builds great cars.
Now listen carefully. Around the track, around the clock, 24 hours of every day, every month, and every season. This is part of the big test. We've added some new notes to the old music of this swamp. Our music is the music that horsepower makes when you test it to see how good it really is. Here we built the fastest test track in America. Here, test drivers can drive fast so that ordinary drivers can drive safe. You find out that fast can mean a lot of different speeds. Sometimes 20 miles per hour is fast. This is 120. We built these high-banked curves so accurately they steer a car without any help from the driver, as fast as 140 miles per hour. It's not a labor-saving device, but if you're a show-off, you can safely fiddle with a sun visor, hands off. We put this big white bracelet of concrete in the center of 4,000 acres of the ruggedest real estate in Michigan. We built straightaway roads for testing brakes and acceleration. And then we ringed the oval with a dirt road, a rock-strewn country road to test endurance. We made a sand pit. To get to the bottom of this business, you have to go through 2 feet of loose sand, and that's farther than the wheels of a car can reach. The answer, keep moving. The purpose of the pit is to test the strength of the drivetrain, which means everything that connects the engine to the bucking rear wheels. We made concrete turnarounds for testing wheels to find the strains that will break them. So far as we know, a wheel has never broken in ordinary use. We want to be sure that no wheel ever will. Monotonous? Uh-huh. A long, shallow bathtub is not for washing cars, but engines. We want to see what happens to ignition and fuel systems when they're good and wet. We don't usually have visitors here, but sometimes there are interesting exceptions. There was pretty Betty Skelton, who holds a lot of airplane and automobile records. In an open fire arrow, Betty tried out our track. She was paced for a few laps by the same car that paced this year's Indianapolis 500. She drove at first with quite a bit of caution, as any good race driver would, getting acquainted with an unfamiliar track. She tried out those mighty 36-degree bank turns. And then, with the feel of the track in her slim hands, she took off. A race driver would say she put her foot right in the carburetor. Betty Skelton didn't come here just for the ride, although she did enjoy it. We had decided that what we had in this fabulous place was well worth the dedication ceremony. A big day for the gentlemen of the press, a big inspection. And Betty was a part of that program. When the big day arrived, Clem McCarthy described it this way.
Today, the latch string is really out at this tremendous proving grounds to the newsmen whose job it is to write about, think about, and dream about cars as the audience arrives for a thrill-packed, speed-jammed, record-breaking ceremony. A parade on the high-speed oval starts it off, spearheaded by convoys of sleek convertibles loaded with stunning models. More stunning models, more sleek convertibles. Now for a glimpse of some of tomorrow's glamour on wheels, idea cars, conceived and built to explore new developments in engineering and design. Here are promises for the future, parading past the stand. And there's military precision in this parade of trucks. These are cadet straight lines of rugged strength. Rain is the unscheduled event in this program, and the wet track is giving an added thrill to the nerve-wracking antics of Joey Chitwood and Irish Horan. Their driver's motto, if at first you don't crack up, try again, and double this time. How about this for a drive in the country on a Sunday afternoon? Now for the finale of the thrill show. Smoke and fireworks, and only an inch to spare on either side. It's Betty Skelton's turn now as she takes the green flag in a closed fire arrow sports car. The first time a woman has ever been officially timed for the AAA. There's real excitement here. Maybe it's Betty herself, maybe the big oval track, or the car Betty's driving, or all the practicing she's been doing. But whatever it is, Betty is wheeling that thing as no woman and men have ever driven an automobile. She's out of the curve and on the straightaway where the checkered flag and maybe new laurels await her. And now at the finish line, there's an expectant hush. The AAA timers are completing their computations, and the crowd is waiting to hear the speed this tiny little girl rang up.
1 minute, 58 and 1800 seconds for a speed of 143.44 miles per hour.
Now the winners in the 54 Indianapolis Classic are ready to show what men can do on the high-speed oval. Jimmy Bryan, second-place winner, soothes his nerves with a good cigar. And the pit crew fires up Jack McGrath's car. Jack finished third in Indianapolis this year, but he holds the all-time speed record there for a qualifying lap of more than 141 miles per hour. Troy Ruttman won at Indianapolis in 52 and finished fourth in 54. Bill Vukovich, who set an all-time record for the whole Indianapolis race this year, track. And now Jimmy Bryan. The four racers form up behind the pace car for a couple of warm-up laps. Each of these great cars is going to make its record attempt singly from a flying start and be timed for the lap that the driver selects. This precise concrete, with its high bank turns, may permit every one of them to keep his foot on the floor for the entire circuit of 4 7/10 miles. Troy Ruttman makes his run. He's making almost 175, and that can be a new international closed track record. But now it's Jack McGrath and the green flag. He's barreling into the far curve with that lead foot of his hard on the floorboard, and the high-pitched whine of Jack's engine is telling the wise ones that he's doing well. There's the checkered flag, and Jack McGrath has done it. The new world's record, 179 4/10 miles per hour. On this track, how long can that record last?
That's how we got dedicated. The gentlemen of the press departed, the race cars went on to other tracks, and we went back to work. Back to what most people mean when they say automobile. Back to testing, retesting, and testing again. To outsiders, the most exciting part of the big test is the high-speed oval. But to us, it's the part that goes on this stone-covered dirt road. 8.5 miles of hills and curves and bumps and rough going that we call our endurance road. Frankly, this is the world's worst place to drive. As speed goes, we drive it slow, usually about 45 miles per hour, hour after hour, day after day on this road, adds up to the ordinary car's lifetime in a very short while. This is where the big test gives the final answer to the ideas and plans of the engineers at the drafting boards. The idea is to make things better. If something looks good in the blueprint stage, if it looks good in the laboratory, we get a sample to try. We bang it around on the curves, we bounce it over the hills. Maybe it still looks good. Maybe it will be an important part of next year's cars. Maybe it will go back to engineering for some changes. Maybe it will go into the scrap pile. That's the big idea of the big test. What do you want to try out? A new air cleaner, a cooling system? We'll let the engineers who design them know just how much improved they really are after they've eaten dust on the endurance road for a couple of weeks. We don't try to destroy things, we test them. If they're good, we're happy as anybody else. We're always testing new ideas for suspension, springs, shock absorbers, and all the things that separate the bumpy road from the driver. Sometimes we really get tough, and this wouldn't be considered good form on the highway, but for us, it's a good test. Do they stand up? Well, let's try again. Now let's try another one for a good look in slow motion. That's a part of the big test. Our job is testing, not setting records. But now and then we set a record that will probably stand a long while. It's a regular part of our job to run a car continuously at top speed for hours on end. Not to see how fast it'll go, but how far it will go without trouble. Continuous top speed is the roughest test you can give an engine. So we set out to run this one with the throttle on the floor for 24 consecutive hours, from 10 a.m. one day until 10 a.m. the next. We stopped only for fuel and tire changes.
How's it going? Fine. Watch yourself, Dick, coming out of the northwest turn. There's a crosswind coming up. Okie doke. Put your buck up as you fast up.
We gave our drivers super service at every pit stop. Gas, oil change, water, engine check, tires if they were needed, and wipe your dirty windshield, sir. It took about 50 seconds. Late in the afternoon of the first day, a rainstorm. But we decided to go on with the test, and we were lucky. The rain cleared. We finished the 24-hour run at an average speed of 118 2/10 miles per hour, including the pit stops. A world's record, 2,836 miles, almost the distance from coast to coast in a single day. So that's the big test. Around the track, around the calendar. Test drivers drive like this so that all drivers can drive safe.
Remember when we used to do that? Follow the leader. And it's all right, too. Develops initiative, builds up their nerve, helps fit them for life in these competitive times among individuals or among nations, learning to fly through the air with the greatest of ease.
Come on, David, you can make it. Sure. Come easy. Come on, it's down. It's easy. Come on, David, you can.
Well, maybe not all with the greatest of ease, but even small fry there may be in training for when you'll be flying in earnest. It's one of those jets when our whole national security may be at stake. There's another one on the ground over there. This is the airfield at Lockheed Aircraft. Looks like Tony Levere, Lockheed's chief test pilot. Want to meet the guy who probably has flown farther, faster than any other man who ever lived? Come on over.
It's a good airplane, Tommy. Check the UHF radio, will you? Okay, Tony. Hello, Dick.
Hello, Tony. Meet some friends of mine from Chrysler.
Hi.
I was telling them about you and the F-94C. Broken any sound barriers lately?
It's getting to be a regular milk run. Check the fuel, will you, Scotty? We did it the other day in a movie with Arthur Godfrey for Eastern Airlines.
Tell us about it.
Well, we went up to about 45,000 feet, up where the blue sky begins to darken. We have cameras and microphones inside and outside, so when we go into our dive, you can tell when we outrun our sound, and when it catches up to us again as we pull out. Listen.
I agree with Godfrey, and you call that a milk run?
Oh, sure. The plane's designed right. To get the most out of an engine, you keep working to get more air into it and a better distribution of fuel, and getting rid of the burnt exhaust gases. Our engineers just seem to be a step ahead, finding a way to do it. Wait a minute. Did you say Chrysler? I should tell you about engineering.
We accept the nomination. And thanks for a thrilling demonstration. We've got some pretty thrilling stuff ourselves this year in the way of a new car announcement, and what you've said fits right in with it. And since that announcement is my first order of business for the day, if you don't mind, I'll be getting on with it. So, thanks again, Tony, and so long.
Goodbye, Dick. Good hunting, gentlemen.
Well, gentlemen, here we go again. If any of you came in late, I'm Dick Lane, taking up where we left off last year. And have I got news for you this year? Big news. It's so big, well, see for yourself. Well, let's face it, fellas, it's bigger than all of us. Just look at those news. Yes, sir, the drought is over. New automatic transmission. If I knew which way was east, we'd all face it and praise Allah. 2 new stepped-up engines. 195 horsepower in the New Yorker. 235 horsepower in the New Yorker Deluxe and Imperials. How about that? If it's horsepower they want, brother, we've got it. New air conditioning. We started some of it this year, and now we can't keep up with the demand. New beauty appeal. Just wait till you see it. And all this on top of and in addition to all the old standby features, still the best on the road, like full-time power steering, power brakes, Oriflow shock absorbers, safety rim wheels, living room comfort, and beauty you can live with. Well, anyway, I know what you want now is to get to the details, so let's go. The new automatic transmission. Now, here's something you dealers have been asking for, and we told you you'd get it as soon as the engineers were satisfied. Well, as you know, those engineers are tougher than, well, they're hard to please. But at last, they're satisfied. And you've got it. Power Flight. Not only the newest in automatic transmissions, but the best automatic transmission in any car. In what ways? It's fully automatic. It has a new smoothness of operation, a wonderful simplicity of construction, and amazingly lightweight. Here's how it operates. Of course, there is no clutch. You start the engine with the selector lever in neutral, and when you're ready to start the car, you simply pull it down to the drive position. 99% of driving is done in that range. And notice how easily it handles. You don't even have to look down at it. Take your eyes off the road. There's a positive stop at both ends of the range. At neutral and at the drive end. When you want to shift into low, you pull it towards you and down to another positive stop. Back into drive or neutral, and again, you're in the foolproof range without danger of pulling it out or bumping it out. To reverse, you pull it towards you and up to that positive stop. Diagrammatically, it would look like this. From neutral to drive, back and forth. Note the positive stops. To low, or to reverse, or back into drive range with accident-proof, fingertip certainty. The transmission itself, the part under the body the owner will probably never see, is tremendously important. The way Chrysler has simplified it and cut down weight. 110 fewer major parts than touted Hydromatic. Up to 100 pounds less weight. There are cars today that it takes a third of their horsepower to haul around their dead weight. And how does the new transmission work? Like a charm. Simply, smoothly, and you don't have to wear a neck brace. And pick up. If she wants to really get out of there, all she has to do is step on the accelerator, and she's gone right now, without any shifting into other ranges. Of course, that's a combination of the new automatic transmission and one of the new stepped-up firepower engines. I don't have to remind you what a firepower engine can do, but look what the engineers have done to it. You remember Tony LaVere saying, to get more power out of an engine, you have to get a better distribution of air and fuel through it? Well, that's what Chrysler engineers have done with the already great firepower engine. Many of the changes are inside, but some of them can be seen. Let me show you. The new, larger air cleaner. The improved concentric design gives it not only bigger capacity than others, it still weighs up to 10 pounds less than other oversized cleaners like Olds and Cadillac. And look, a new 4-barrel carburetor. Twice as many as before. That's the same as 2 carburetors in one. And you can see how the intake manifold has been opened up and capacity doubled. Besides, and all the other changes you can't see, under the rear of the car you'll find 2 exhaust pipes to get the burnt gases out of the way faster. This more powerful firepower engine, coupled with the faster accelerating Power Flight automatic transmission, means not only still greater performance, but still greater safety. Let's take an everyday for instance. You're driving a winding mountain road. Ahead of you is a vehicle having problems of its own, making 40 miles an hour. You come up behind it, the road ahead is open. Without moving a lever, you kick down and you shoot out and around. 100 feet, 200, 300, 330 feet, and you're past another object going 40 miles per hour. But let's see how well you're off in any other car. Let's say Cadillac. You come up behind the same clunker at the same spot. You pull out to pass, giving it all you've got. 100, 200, 354 feet it takes you in a Cadillac to pass that same object going 40 miles an hour. Once more, this time in a Mercury. You come up behind the same thing at the same place. You pull out to pass, and again, give it all you've got. 100, 200, 300, 400. Whoops! Look out! Wow. Anyway, it takes 410 feet to get back in lane in place of Chrysler's 330 feet. The rest of competition, some even more than that. That's the difference when you deliver greater horsepower to the road in the safer, more dependable Chrysler. The next headline, well, that's the one they told me not to talk about. No use. We can't keep up with the orders anyway. We never thought people would pay $600 extra for air conditioning, outside of a few maybe in certain parts of the country. But I guess it gets just as hot driving in New York as it does in Georgia. And it can be just as stifling in Utah as it gets in Texas. And our unit is really terrific. It weighs less than other air conditioners, and more important, it does a better job. It doesn't just keep circulating the same old cigarette smoke and stale air. It brings in fresh air and cools it. It's like riding right outdoors in a cool lake breeze in northern Michigan. Yes, sir, it's the last word in motoring comfort. And why shouldn't it be the best? It's Chrysler's Air Temp. Talk about it. Too many people want it now. They'll probably shoot me for what I've said already. But before they do, I'd better start showing you the cars. I'm going to start with the most popular car in the line, the new 1954 Windsor Deluxe. Here's the 6-passenger sedan. Year in and year out, we hold on to more Windsor owners than any other car. One of the things we often hear is, I didn't know you could buy a Chrysler for that money. There's the elegance, taste, and distinction of much higher-priced cars. A man's car that women love to drive, including 4 optional 2-tone interiors. Plenty of people still like the economical 6-cylinder engine, and the Spitfire is still the greatest of them all. Something else the public seems to want, and that is more chrome. And we're going to give it to them, starting with the new massive grille and bumper. We think we've got the most exciting treatment here yet. The new chrome eyebrow of the headlight frame extending out over the light itself is not only an interesting rendition, but it adds that little something to the streamlined effect of the whole front end. A heavier chrome frame houses the tail light assembly, including the popular automatic backup light. A wider stone shield sweeping around the base of the rear door darts back in a speed line along the fender to the rear. The chrome belt molding is not only wider, but its special curved design picks up highlights and makes the trim seem wider still. Open the front door and step into the same living room comfort as universally identified with Chrysler cars as Chrysler Safety and Chrysler Engineering. An attractively arranged instrument panel, upholstered with safety pad and glare-proof cowl cover. I could go on with this, but I'm sure you'd rather hear and much rather see Miss Madeline Mitchell, beauty expert and stylist, formerly of Marshall Fields, now of Hollywood. Where in the movie studios have to keep a little ahead of what people consider real beauty. Here is Miss Mitchell.
Hello. Yes, I've had occasion to look at your new Chryslers. Outside, we think they have plenty of flair, yet distinction of line. Inside, a world of fashion in fabric, variety, color range, and advanced styling detail. What I like about all your interiors, not only the greater variety of richer colors, but they're color-keyed more modishly than ever before. This coming out party each year of America's first family of fine cars is always an exciting event. Dick, may I say something about the New Yorker and the Imperial, too?
In a minute. I just want to tie a knot on this Windsor package. Gentlemen, in the new 1954 Windsor, you have a full line. Club Coupe, Newport, convertible, 6-passenger and 8-passenger sedans, and the town and country. Eye-filling, mouth-watering Chryslers. And remember this. A lot of people feel the Windsor is the best buy in cars. It's big, luxurious, good riding, good driving, and still satisfies the motoring needs of an awful lot of people in a reasonable price class. With the new automatic transmission, you shut your eyes and you think you're driving an 8. So let's get out and nudge a bunch of these Buick Supers and Olds 88s and Packard 300s, as well as a raft of the smaller fry. And the Windsor will do it. And now I know you're anxious, as I am, to see the rest of the models. So here's the New Yorker, Club Coupe. You will also have it in the Newport, 6-passenger sedan, 8-passenger sedan, and town and country. Of course, you're stepping up into the firepower class now. 195 horsepower. I want to take a minute to emphasize something about horsepower claims. We know that most of these inflated horsepower figures our friends talk about are just that. Under ideal conditions, they have a hard time getting anywhere near their claims. But when we say 195, we develop a full 195. Now, with all that power, plus the new automatic transmission, plus Chrysler full-time power steering, we're going to show you something. Let's get off the highway. Now, here's a demonstration. Cutting figure 8s in loose soil. And believe it or not, steering with one finger. The reason he can do that, Chrysler's 450 pounds of hydraulic pressure is working with him full time at his fingertips. But there's still more to see. The New Yorker Deluxe with 235 horsepower. And here comes the convertible. Isn't that sassy? All right, Madeline, you can come in now before you explode.
Well, I just want to say, here again is where Chrysler design and style shine out like a good deed in an automotive world. Every woman will secretly envy the girl behind the wheel, and may even pay tribute of a wistful thought to the man who put her there.
Yeah.
Well, can you blame us? A car like that? Or that one over there?
That's the New Yorker Deluxe 6-passenger sedan. On both these models, note the still more generous use of chrome. A massive, more distinctive grille. A wide front fender stone deflector has been added. The rear fender stone shield has a much greater expanse of chrome. New chrome molding completely around the windows, along with a wider belt molding. There's the new jewel-like gold crest, front and rear. The gold signet on the wheel covers throw out gold reflections among the silver. Gold nameplate on rear fender. And on the rear, of course, that's the view most other motorists will get of the powerful new Chrysler.
What I like, Dick, are those stunning interiors. The two-tone broadcloth in a more colorful selection. Oh, I see they have a new treatment of the safety cushion.
And added an extra padded roll along the underside of the instrument panel.
There's the same gold name inside on satin finished chrome. No matter where you sit, you're proud to be in it and invite your friends in it. It's the nicest thing you have outside of your home.
And now, for the last syllable of the last word in handcrafted coachwork and luxurious elegance, I give you the Imperials, here represented by the custom Imperial 6-passenger sedan and the custom Imperial Newport. And look at the new chrome on the Imperials. Here is flashing performance, from glamorous interiors to gleaming exteriors. Strength in shining armor. Greatness touched with brilliance. Distinction sprinkled with stardust. Beauty crowned in glory. Perfection dipped in magic. Truly, the finest cars America has yet produced. Here they come. All the new members we just met. Members of America's first family of fine cars. Well, there you are, gentlemen. I told you we had big news for you. And remember, the power of leadership is yours with Chrysler.
You've seen the new Chrysler on the screen. In a moment, you're going to see it in person.
And as Tony LeVere told you, gentlemen, good hunting.
In history, my background is well known, for I am called Miss Plymouth, the car you're proud to own. And like the famous Mayflower, I ride with safety flow. And I speak for myself, John, Plymouth really got go.
Nice to see you, boy.
Good to see you, too.
Bob, I'd love to have you meet my friend Ken. This is Mr. Summers.
Oh, hello, Ken. How are you?
He's the sales manager of the Plymouth division of the Chrysler Corporation.
Is that Bob? You've got 3 or 4 outstanding features in this car by this year. Tell me about them, will you?
3 or 4, Ken? We have dozens of them.
Oh,
This is the beautiful new Plymouth Belvedere that you're looking at here. And you know, Plymouth is the low-price car with 19 of the 20 quality features found in high-price cars. We're very proud of this automobile.
Now, I understand there's one thing you do have is a automatic windshield wipers. Is that
That's right? They're electric. Roy would be glad to know that, of course.
Well, Bob, we have about 8 more stops to make, and I'm sure you'll excuse us if we have to go, won't you?
With lots of class, Miss Dodge of 52. The emblem here upon my head is known to all of you. Your life with me will be just one of smooth tranquility. The motto of my family is dependability.
Well, how do you do?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I see you.
I'd love to have you meet my friend Ken.
Hello, Ken. How are you? Glad to see. I know.
General sales manager, the Dodge.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Doc, tell me, how do you like the new Dodge, or am I kidding?
Well, of
course you're kidding, Ken. You know what I'd have to say about the new Dodge. I'd much rather tell you what the people say who have seen and driven this new Dodge. They say it's wonderful. The reason they say that is that they are so thrilled with the value-packed features that are in this new 52 Dodge.
Well, Mr. Doc, I want to thank you very much. We got a lot of stops to make, and I wonder if you'd excuse us and let us go on, because I'm glad we had a chance to meet you and see this beautiful car.
Now, I'm the new DeSoto. I'm called the Fire Dome 8. And boys, till you've been out with me, you haven't had a date. I'll really take you places fast, but also safe you'll find me. And when driving, you can steer with just one arm behind me.
This is Jim from DeSoto, isn't it? Jim Wagstaff. I'm glad to see you. Hey, what is this Fire Dome 8? Is that a singing group from the Firehouse, number 32 or something?
No, hardly that, Ken. That's our baby. This is a 160 horsepower Fire Dome V8.
Tell me something. I want to ask you something about this. How much horsepower is on there?
160 horsepower.
160. Well, that's a beautiful car, and I've got the cameras right now taking a picture of it. I'm sure the folks are going to really be impressed by it. And I want to thank you so much for letting us come by, Mr. Wagstaff.
I'm the Chrysler Imperial. I'm called Her Majesty. My power is unlimited. I rule the roads, you see. My mind is changed so easily. I answer your commands. With Chrysler steering, I'm putty in your hands.
Well, I see that our young lady represented the Studebaker Imperial, but this is another car, isn't it?
Chrysler New Yorker.
Chrysler New Yorker.
Yes.
Mr. K.T. Keller.
And I'm very glad to meet you, I'm sure.
I'm glad to meet you.
Delighted to be here.
Fella, this gives us a little bit of his time. Eh? He's got another problem, though, that takes most all of his time.
Is that right?
Yeah, that missile you hear about.
The missile, the guided missile, that's right.
sir.
You're working on that too, aren't you?
I spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah. Tell me, what are some of the Chrysler features? Tell me about them, will you?
Well, I've been on that guided missile job. I'm going to introduce you, Ken, to the Vice President of Chrysler, Mr.
I'm
Quinn.
Glad to know you, Mr. Quinn. Tell me about some of these features, will you? And excuse me, boys, for stepping in front of you, won't you?
Well, we have a great many. The two that I like is the Chrysler Power Steering and the Chrysler Power Brakes. We have features that could fill a book. This is truly an engineering achievement. It's the finest Chrysler we have yet produced.
Well, I certainly appreciate you letting us come by and see this, both of you gentlemen.